Alright, today I'm going to show you a tutorial video on FSEconomy, a virtual FSX and X-Plane and I think P3D now add-on available that simulates a general economy, so running, buying planes, running, buying fuel shops, and all that kind of thing. So today we're just going to give you how to use this platform and some features of it. So the web address is fseconomy.net. And you get to the forums page when you first start. You have the interactive form that's right here. And here's all the forms that you can use. We'll learn about that later. But you want to go again to the FSC Game World new browser page. And then you get a page similar to this if you haven't logged in yet. So here's all my information here. You have all these tabs up here as well as here. So to start, we want to find an aircraft with assignments available to rent. The easiest way to do this is to go to airports. You can either have two options. You can type in the airport ICAO. So let's just type in example one right now, KSNA, John Wayne, Orange County, Santa Ana. We see all these aircraft. For example, here we have 3 Hanford charter passengers headed to Hartford Municipal in Hanford, Canada. 3 assignments, each paying $912. And if we want to rent aircraft, here are the aircraft available for rent. And again, you have to have these aircraft available in your simulator in order to fly them. They don't automatically put an aircraft in your simulator. So once you find an aircraft, you can rent it, and that's the end of part 1. The other way to do that is you can search by exact aircraft and then find assignments. So to do that, you type in an example aircraft. For example, I'm going to do one of my favorite aircrafts, the Piper PA-28 Aero. And we click on runnable and make sure it's a runnable plane down here. And we can put in our perimeter. So let's say we want to fly at CYUL. We can enter all of our route within 50 miles and make sure you check have assignments so you actually don't go to an empty airport. We see that they're not available there. So let's expand our search a little bit longer and everything will stay the same. And there are 4 airports. So let's say we want to go to Central Maine, Apartment of Norwich, Walk, Maine. So we can click on the ICAO, and we see, because of this ICAO, there are 5 passengers waiting for transportation, 2, 1, and 2. The 2 ones pay $1,455, and 1 pays $896. So then we can select our passengers if we wanna. We select the passengers, either way you would do this, and make sure you click Add Selected Assignments to, blah, blah. We're not gonna take this because the Piper Aero only has a capacity for 3 passengers. So we're just going to add those 3 to our flight. Now it's going to show, and they're sent to our flight queue. Now we want to rent the aircraft. Now this aircraft right here has a maintenance issue, which means that it's not working too well. But if you see, if there's just a wrench and there's not this weird looking green box around it, that means that you cannot fly it until the owner repairs it and you do not have permission to do it. If it has this kind of green box around the wrench, like this one does here, that means you have permission by the owner to repair it on their budget. So you repair it. 122 dry is kind of expensive, but we'll go with it for now. So you have 2 options. You can rent it dry, which means that you are billed for the fuel at the end, or wet, which means you're paying for the fuel at the or the fuel is included in the rental price. So what I like to do is I like to click on the aircraft ID and bring up this aircraft log page, which will show me exactly how much fuel it has, and we see that the 11 gallons or 12 gallons an hour is how much fuel we have. So probably this, because this flight is probably going to be longer, there's not enough fuel. So we'll probably need around 24 gallons of fuel. The extra 13 gallons of fuel, 13 times 413, $62. So if we add $62 to here, it is going to be more expensive than wet renting. So for this particular case, we're actually going to stay with dry because we are flying for over an hour, which overall accounts because it's more of a less an hour and a half flight. The dry would be a better option even with the fuel. The other thing you must look at before doing it is you want to look at the distance bonus. This is a distance bonus, and the distance bonus is how much you get for flying an aircraft towards its home base every 100 miles. So if you get 100 nautical miles closer to Boston on the Skyhawk, for example, you get $75 for every 100 nautical miles closer you bring it to Boston. It's the same if you fly it away. So if it ends up 100 nautical miles farther than Boston, then you would end up with negative 75 because you lost money on that. So the main reason is this is if you want to say fly to here, you really to equal distance bonus, you want to since we're already flying a plane to Boston, you want to click on the Boston, and then you want to find a plane going right back up to the airports. And you'll end up with the same thing, and the distance bonus won't matter as long as you return at the airport. Now, of course, distance bonuses you really have to, well, first we'll run this dry, so just click run dry. And distance bonuses you really have to be careful on because some are kind of tricky if you don't really pay attention. A really good example of this would be in Iceland. There's one airport. He's totally okay practice, totally allowed, totally okay. The only thing you have to make sure you know how to rent these planes. These bonuses are $20,000, which means, for example, you might want to rent a Bell Huey or a Bell Huey, and if you look at the aircraft guide, you'll see that it only holds 12 passengers. So if we add up to 12 passengers, like here and here, to our plane, you can only make $7,000, and it's kind of a far flight, but you end up paying about $140,000 extra dollars. So let's say you do that and you end up with a lot of negative money. All you have to do is go to the airport and find a flight or some kind of flight to get back to this location, and you'll get your $20,000 back. Similarly, if someone made the terrible mistake of flying one of these and not returning it and losing all that bonus money, you can literally head up to, let's say this airport had one. You would be making $127,000 in a few hours, which is a very, very good rate for just ferrying an aircraft. So make sure you watch it for the distance bonus. Okay, so that covers the basic of selecting an assignment. Now let's go click on the My Flight page. You see here, this aircraft is prohibited from commercial operations until repairs have been made. Please fly to the nearest repair station and have your aircraft serviced. Renters are authorized to make repairs, which again means that little green box. So now if we head up to the aircraft page again, once again, we see that there is repair and avionics here. New England Flight Support offers repair for 15%. Local Market, which is a system, offers it for 20%. Obviously, 15% is a better rate, so we're going to go select the 15% option. So now we're going to click on Fix. Once we go to Fix, we see that there's the GPS equipment, aircraft repair, and we need to look at this aircraft repair right here. We see that the estimated quote is under $5,000, but be careful that you select this one and not select this one and not this one, because again, if you select that second one, you're going to be billed for the 20% instead of the 15%. So we're going to do that, and we're going to click on Perform. And we're going to click on OK. Okay, now his aircraft has been fixed. Again, he has been billed for the aircraft. So now we want to refuel this aircraft to make sure we have enough gallons of fuel on board. To do that, we said we want to put 24 gallons in because, more or less, it's a little over an hour flight. And as well, the gallons we're going to burn at 12 gallons an hour should be around 24 gallons. So we're going to select the New England Flight Support, as again, it is the only airport there. And we can either see on this page, because it takes 100 low lead, or on this page, that it costs $4.13. And there's 24.94 gallons available to purchase. So now we're going to go to this bar down here, right here, and select actually our buy from, which we already did, and now we're going to take our fill to. The current fuel is 11 gallons, and we want to put in 24 gallons. So all we do is, to make sure that fill to, we enter 24, because that is our total fuel. Then we click on refuel. Once again, after you do this, you're really free to go. What I would recommend doing, though, if you're flying multiple, this aircraft release when no assignments are on board, click on release, and it will change to hold, which means that as soon as the assignments are done, you're going to keep the rental unless you cancel it. Another thing you really want to look at when you're renting aircraft is down here. You want to look at the equipment. If you have an aircraft that only has IFR and autopilot, not GPS, it means that you can fly autopilot, but the program will disable your GPS. You only have a pocket GPS, so you will only have partial autopilot compatibility. Now, if you go to another aircraft, it includes mainly in size. We can just search aircraft, so I'll explain this part later. I'm just finding an aircraft. So we'll go to the Aranca Champion, and we'll go and just see what it says. All of these pretty much have VFR. So if you look here, it has VFR, which means IFR, it cannot have any nav radios or anything like that, no communications other than VATSIM dot commands, or IVAO commands as well. Also, it does not have autopilot whatsoever, which means the entire way you will be hand flying the aircraft. And third, again, there's no GPS, so either way it doesn't matter. Since you don't have any autopilot compatibility, it's not really worth it to do that. So if you really need these equipment, I would recommend renting an aircraft with these equipment. Like, for example, if you do what I do sometimes, I'll leave it on autopilot and walk away and come back as soon as the flight's over. I would recommend getting a fully equipped aircraft. But if you're just flying a flight and sitting there and want to hand fly it or control it manually or fly via VOR to VOR, like I know a bunch of people do, you might just need IFR autopilot. Or if you're going to sit there and just fly, but follow roads or valleys or whatever the heck you want to do, you can just rent a VFR aircraft. Now, again, the aircraft with the lower levels of equipment are usually way cheaper, as we see that. I'm going to go take a look at one of my aircraft for itself. It costs a very, very large amount of money in order to install equipment on the aircraft. This aircraft has it all installed. Actually, I think all of mine do. Do they? Yeah, it does. But if we go, the average price is $13,000 for IFR. I think it's $20,000 for autopilot and $40,000 or $50,000. More like I think it's $50,000 for GPS. However, the GPS option, there's also markup. So when you want to see these planes, you have to deal with the avionics, which is way higher, which I'll tell you later. Anyway, so your flight is now set up. So now, I've already in the middle of flight, so you just need to load up your flight simulator. Load up at this, you can even load on the runway in this Norwich airport. And you go there, and you go to the client, which I'm using FSUI PC, which I would recommend way more, as it is way more simpler to use. You can click on Start Flight. It'll ask you about your loading. Well, I don't have it on the other airport, but you can click on your loading, and you can load your aircraft. It'll automatically load it. It won't automatically load it, actually. You'll have to enter it in, or you can just click to ignore it. But for realism, you can load it. It will automatically load fuel as well. That's all. So you take off and you go in the air. You end up landing, and there are two options to shut it down. A, you can set your parking brake, and it will automatically log the flight. B, if you're flying a helicopter or other one, or you didn't apply the parking brake add-on to the CFG file, you can shut down your engine, which for helicopter pilots, it's way more easy than going through the configuration file and adding a parking brake. So then you do. Now you will have a bonus in your cash and bank balance, or cash balance, once you have the aircraft completed. So now we're gonna pretend we just flew this flight, and now we have money here. Your page will show up like this, and you'll see in your cash balances from before, you'll have whatever it costs for the flight. Now, for example, I'm just gonna go to my logs right here. My last flight I did was my last profitable flight I did was in this from Jacksonville to Idaho Falls, I believe that is. Let me check. Jackson Hole to Idaho Falls, Wyoming to, yeah, Idaho Falls Regional in Idaho, so Wyoming to Idaho. So I am going to click on the view logs, and you'll see all the fees here. So for a rental example, I earned $9,633. Rental, 18 minutes I rented. The cost for a single rental unit, so to rent it every hour, costs $826. That equals to, I paid $257.44 to rent the aircraft. The fuel cost me $116.24. The landing fee, there's no landing fees anymore in FSE, you don't have to worry about it. Additional crew, that's only if you fly larger planes. You'll see in the aircraft log here, for example, if I go to one of my aircraft, I'll just have to go back real quick. If you go to one of my aircraft, you'll see, like, for example, my Fairchild C-123 I'm leasing. You'll see in here that it has 2 additional crew. What that means is you'll have to pay them more. You'll have to pay them to fly with you, as like in real life, for a co-pilot as well as load masters, stuff like that. So that's additional crew. Ground crew fee is 10% of each end if they have an FBO. It's 5% actually, 10% total. So if you make $100, which is a very low amount, but let's say you make $100, you go to the FBO. There's one FBO at each airport. That means the one airport gets $5, the other airports get $5 as well. And then say there's 2 FBOs. The percentage is split between the 2 FBOs. So say you have 2 FBOs at the departure and 1 at the arrival. The one at the departure, each one gets $2.50, and at the arrival, each one gets $5, or this one gets $5. Now, if there's no FBOs whatsoever, no ground crew fee. So they take off from a no FBO to a 1 lot FBO. You pay for departure $0, and you pay the end $5. So you really want to try and stay away from FBOs. However, a lot of FBOs have good jobs. It's a really, really challenging thing to do to find the right mix between FBOs and no FBOs, but it can be done. So make sure you stay. So then you have a booking fee. Booking fees are if you have 6 or more jobs that are marked in green. By green, I mean, if you go here, these are marked in green. These are black. These are green. Green means it is generated by the FBO. They selected that they want all their passengers to be able to have service to Jackson Hole, Wyoming. So you have Jackson Hole, Wyoming. So now what do you do if you add all these flights? Well, your first 5 have no booking fee. Then you have 6% goes to booking fees if you add 6, 7% if you add 7, 8% if you add 8, etc. So as soon as you get to 6, you start paying that in a percent. So when you're flying a giant plane, you really don't want to take 120 jobs because you'll actually end up owing 20% of what you made to the system. So I would try and stay away from filling very large aircraft with green jobs, but small aircraft or even aircraft like the King Air 200, the King Air 350, or the Cessna 208, those are still fine, but just try and stay with these black jobs here. So now that's all you really do. And then lastly, if I can go back to my log, which I completely X'd out of, sorry guys. Go to my log here, IDA, and view here. That's the booking fee. So here's meteorological cost. Here's a distance bonus we talked about. So I flew in one direction, there's a small bonus, and I actually earned $96.24. So total earnings was $713.97. Now, of course, now you want to put it in your bank. If you keep it in cash, you earn no interest. If you put it in the bank, you actually earn interest every month. Like I earn this much as much. However, it is January 30th, 2016. So I should be getting that in about a day or so. But $391.64. So now I want to put this cash in the bank because if it's in cash, you don't earn interest. If you go in the bank, you earn interest. Bank's interest is 5% per month, calculated daily. So just keep that in mind. The reason I have it set to $20,000 in cash right now is because I am currently waiting for someone to ferry an aircraft, and as soon as they ferry it, it's going to automatically deduct it from my account, so I'm just keeping it like that. But that's way more advanced. I'll talk about that in another video, and that's really all you have to do. So these are the main basics for flying aircraft in FSEconomy. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you like it, please hit the like button down below. And I will certainly be making more videos to show you guys how to fly. And if you guys really like it, I can share some of my flights or do some live flights with you. So thank you very much for watching this video.